Welcome to the Turd Nerds. We are the functional gastroenterology podcast discussing all things poop. Before we take the plunge into today's episode, let us tell you a bit about ourselves. I'm Dr. Rebecca Sand, a naturopathic physician and acupuncturist, and I specialize in all things gastroenterology, hormones, and fertility.
I'm Dr. Ami Kapadia, and I'm a medical doctor trained in family medicine and functional medicine with a special interest in gastrointestinal health, food and environmental allergies, and autoimmune disease.
And I'm Dr. Lana Gurvich, a naturopathic physician and acupuncturist who is board certified in naturopathic gastroenterology. I specialize in inflammatory bowel disease, IBS, and other functional digestive disorders. Let's jump into today's episode.
The following discussion is for educational purposes only and not intended to diagnose or treat any diseases or conditions. Please consult your doctor before incorporating any of this information into your care. The information presented on this podcast is not medical advice.
Welcome back, Turd Nerds. We are very excited because we have just stepped to the next level of the Turd Nerds. Let us make a toast first to our Turd Nerd fans who are showing up all over the world. Thank you.
Cheers to you all. We love you guys.
And second of all, I'd like to celebrate the fact that the three of us have just emerged from Rebecca Sand's closet into her bedroom.
And soon maybe into a basement.
Maybe,
Yep,
because we are moving up in the world. So
Yep.
if you hear this, you can also see this.
Yep.
We are available on all of the platforms.
Yep. We are making good moves. I'm proud
We're
of
doing
us. I'm proud of us.
Yeah. Who
and
knew?
all of our loyal fans couldn't do it without you. So
What are we talking about today, Dr. Kapadia?
So Dr. Sand is going to be leading a discussion on the microbiome and metabolism.
yeah.
Are you guys ready?
This
ready?
is a pretty hot topic. I mean, this is
Well,
everybody's talking
metabolism
about it.
for
Yeah.
sure, and weight.
And I have to be
Yeah.
honest, I don't know anything about how the microbiome. I know that there's definitely a component.
Oh,
with
you
how
know a little
microbiome.
bit. You know a little bit.
Maybe just enough to be
Yeah.
dangerous.
Akkermansia.
Okay, right. I don't actually know if I know what that does. So great. Tell me what I don't know.
Methanobrevibacter smithii.
That one brings up methane.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Definitely affects our weight and metabolism, all sorts of things. So
What do you know?
Things will
Tell
make
us
sense.
So
everything.
you
Well-
can just take the pills and then you'll be good.
you got it. We're done.
All right.
See ya.
Well, Western medicine wins again.
No, I think I got drawn to this topic really because I do a lot of hormone management for
Yeah.
people, and in transitions like perimenopause or folks dealing with PCOS or things like that, weight can be an issue, insulin resistance can be an issue. So coming up with ways to kind of address that for people that isn't just diet or even diet and
Right.
exercise.
Which I mean, it works, but it's really
It doesn't
hard.
always work.
It doesn't always
Right.
work.
Right.
well enough for how much, first, people are told that, and two, people go into doctors' offices to try to get care, and they're shamed for things that really, like, people will go in for fertility treatments or migraines or bowel issues, and their doctors will just say, oh, you're overweight, you need to eat less.
And it's just like this vicious cycle, because then if you
Not
lose
okay.
weight, your basal metabolic rate goes down, your caloric
And
intake
people
needs
aren't
go down, and it's
guided
like this.
On how to safely do it. So
Yeah.
it's just muscle mass
And there could be
wasting.
toxicity involved in
Yeah.
preventing weight loss. So
Yeah. So I think my huge caveat in going into this conversation that I lecture all my patients about is I don't actually care about weight for people. I want people to feel comfortable in their bodies. That's what matters to me. I'm very hard pressed to actually weigh people, but if people are noticing changes in their body, especially that abdominal weight gain,
Mhm.
like that fundamentally is probably insulin resistance.
Visceral fat.
And that, yes, that is, from a health standpoint, an
It's a
issue.
problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
So ways we can kind of get in there to be able to help people a little bit better. Things get better. People feel better. People don't ache as much. Like the slow roll into diabetes
Okay,
and
so
metabolic syndrome.
let me, because this is something that I feel like we're talking about a lot. Like at the
Yeah.
Gastro MP, we had that
Yep.
a couple of conversations about it,
Yep.
which everybody knows is my favorite conference of the year. But it, like
Really good food too.
Yeah,
Just great all around.
I feel like where I get caught
Yeah.
on that is we also know weight is an independent marker of other inflammatory
Yeah,
causes.
but here's
Right.
my argument to that. The shame we put people through and the cortisol we rev through people by shaming them for their weight and having that be the only thing we get to talk about as a barrier to people being able to get care for the things that they want or actually being heard by their doctor. Like, we are not doing that. People feel welcome for us. If they don't want to talk about their weight, like, awesome. Like,
Right.
there's so many other ways to get in to help people. But I think the disservice that we do to people of different body sizes in medicine is fundamentally wrong and causes lifelong stress that is equally, if not worse, to the human than whatever weight they're carrying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can go both ways. I think we can't ignore it, and it can't be like a taboo subject that we can't bring up with people.
Right.
Because they need to know about it for their health. But of course, we don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable or shameful about it.
I guess,
trauma level
so
what people go through.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't realize that goes on still currently.
So what you are saying is there is a microbiome component to the weight that's getting gained, or the weight changes that people's bodies are going under.
It all has to do with hormones. It all comes down to our hormone regulation. And that's why, like, telling people you need to eat less or whatever, like, our systems get hijacked when we have this insulin sensitivity cascade. Our hunger cues get off, like, the whole thing.
And that comes back to the microbiome.
There are ways in with the microbiome.
Okay,
that
explain.
I think are important to discuss. Yeah. So basically, some kind of like background information. I'm going to be reading off my notes a little bit here because I want to make sure I reference things appropriately.
You don't have notes. It's all in your brain. It's kind of magic.
A lot of it's in my brain because I talk about it all the time. But so there's a study in Nature in 2006 that outlined basically how our microbiome makes up or affects our energy harvest. Which essentially is like, some people will harvest more energy, more calories out of their food than others. And what shifts that? And a lot of that comes down to the microbiome, because if you're over harvesting nutrients, if you live in an area where there's famine and food scarcity, that's great. And that you can see why that kind of evolved with humans. But if you put that into a culture of abundance like America, you can see why that's a problem for a lot of folks. So basically, this study in 2006 investigated how certain bugs, certain bacteria in our gut, more effectively extract energy from our food. And if they're too efficient at this, we gain weight. So in addition to harvesting our energy, gut bacteria can influence a lot of metabolic pathways, which I want to just sort of like give an outline of this to guide our discussion today. But we know that dysbiosis can lead to intestinal permeability. Why does that matter?
Well, because that's going to cause more of an inflammatory response.
Exactly.
Yes. Can I get a high five?
Exactly.
I love the quizzes.
And altered production of our metabolites, like sugar, like our amino acids, like our lipids. And both of those things will go on to manage or affect our glucose balance in our blood. Inflammatory mediators are make it harder. So when they're swimming with inflammation, like
LPS.
Yeah, for any reason, but leaky gut is a big cause of that systemically happening. It actually makes it harder for our body to process insulin.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, which can then lead to higher blood sugars and fat accumulation, especially around the liver and in our abdomen. So we could talk about metabolism and gut inflammation all day, but I want to also note that inflammation will then directly reduce leptin production.
Okay, remind me, ghrelin, leptin. I always get ghrelin, leptin. I always get confused on that.
Essentially, they're like how our body signals we're hungry and we need more sugar. So it's like there are a lot of hormones.
Like satiety.
Yep. We're full. We're hungry. How they manage that. That essentially will lead to messed up hunger cues, weight gain, and more food cravings for people.
Yep.
So that's why that fundamentally is why telling people who have these cascades out of sync, don't eat so much or only make healthy choices. Like their body is chemically programmed to crave food at an abnormal rate. Right. For people. So we have to kind of get under that.
I get food cravings every day after work. Do you think that's
I get my 3 o'clock chocolate o'clock. But I get... And I guess I have to
throw it in there.
I have to assume, because one of the things we're talking about off camera is buckwheat pillows.
Oh yeah.
Wool pillow. I prefer wool.
Well, but I was
like
saying,
I was like Cotton Cloud and
I haven't tried it though. I haven't tried it. Yeah.
I was saying, so what we can assume is some of the things that are causing these issues are all the solvents, the toxicants that we're exposed
environmental
to,
chemicals,
and that's changing our microbiome.
Right. Well, so that induces leaky gut. Like the toxins and chemicals we take in our environment, in our packaged food, we all know that it's super depressing. But
if you're inhaling it, you're ingesting it as well.
Yeah, touching it, it all gets somewhere. But that inflammation will then predispose us to microbiome imbalances, right?
Yeah, right. It's a vicious cycle.
So it's this awful catch-22 that most of us are just swimming in. Conversely, in a healthy gut, we know that our bugs make very important short-chain fatty acids. Can anybody name one of those?
Butyrate.
Nice. Yeah. We love butyrate. Yes. Which also, those actually improve insulin sensitivity. for us.
Oh,
So
yeah, that
fiber,
makes-
back to fiber.
So it's like
Right.
this
Fiber and
cross
prebiotics.
Resistant starch.
psyllium husk. So this is this crossroads that we like get on one path or the other. You know, if we have the healthy microbiome, we're protecting our insulin sensitivity.
Right.
And if we do this cascade, it's like we are way more predisposed with gut microbiome dysbiosis, leaky gut, all of that, to have insulin regulation issues.
I wonder if there's any studies on what percentage of the U.S. population does not have leaky gut. Like, that would be an interesting study. Do the lactose mannitol test on random subjects?
I think I told you guys, I was in on a meeting with a probiotic developer. Did I tell you this? I was in on a meeting with a probiotics developer, and she's a researcher who has paired with, I think, Pfizer, actually. And she was running microbiome studies on newborn babies in America.
Yeah.
And she was finding, like, deficiencies, newborns, you know what I mean? Like in the beginning.
But they have leaky gut as it is.
Yeah,
so that would be a hard
Yes,
population to study.
They were comparing, I think I remember we had this conversation in the podcast. They were comparing it to microbiomes of people in like not developed countries that live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. And they came down with these 6 species, and American newborn babies were missing a majority of those species.
Yeah.
Breastfed versus
it did not matter. That was what was so stunning about her data. Is it did not matter if they were breastfed or formula fed.
Wow.
The beginning, like from the canal or from the hospital room, they were missing these super important keystone species.
And we often give IV antibiotics, right? If we don't know GBS status and such, or like, I mean, we check it on most people, and if you get a C-section, you get antibiotics, right? So,
have you heard of putting the mother's poop in the milk for
that
C-section babies?
No, I have not heard
There's
that.
studies on it. I've had some friends, shout out to you guys, who sent me that in this last week, that they're studying for a little bit of...
You know purified? That... Wait, can we just stop?
These were my questions.
Rebecca's friends read a study about putting poop in a baby formula and immediately think of Rebecca. This is who she's cultivated.
I know, these are my people.
Poop study, Rebecca.
Yeah, but, like, my question is, what about, like, vaginal secretion?
I definitely know that there is a movement.
There's a movement
for sure.
To, like, swab a healthy vagina and put it in the mouth of a
but they're
newborn.
actually putting like the mom's poop in the milk and giving it
to the baby. That doesn't seem like a good idea.
I know. And I read the abstracts of these studies. I haven't read the whole thing, but they were like cautions, like don't do this on your own, like serious risk.
Do not try this at home.
How did they control for
pathogens?
We know how they make FMT caps.
Yeah.
So maybe they're doing that.
If it's purified somehow.
I don't know. I mean, they weren't capsules, but it was literally, they called it like a poop slushy or something.
It's disgusting.
There is documentation going back to the 1300s in classical Chinese texts to use GI poop slushies for treatment for diarrhea.
Amazing.
Okay,
they were on
keep going.
Okay, so the last sort of like facet to this that is going to kind of be like an overarching discussion topic is bile acid metabolism.
Oh, okay.
Why might that matter?
I think I totally know this. Hold on. Because depending on how the secondary microbiome in the large intestine breaks down the bile acids, that's going to affect the microbiome going down the line.
Well, can deconjugate bile acids, right? If there's dysbiosis.
Yep, totally. Giardia, for example.
Explain that. I missed that.
Giardia eats bile salts.
Okay, so then it would become not deconjugated.
Yeah, well, it just affects ability for nutrients to get into the body.
Got it. Okay.
And or transit time because of the bile acid dumping, like all of that. But essentially, we know gut dysbiosis affects bile acid metabolism. We know that. We have bile acid activation receptors in our gut and liver, which then in turn regulate glucose levels. Specifically, and I'm reading off my notes here, glycogen synthesis, gluconeogenesis, the release of insulin. Like it directly will bind to stimulate the release of insulin in our body. And then we also need these receptors to ultimately lower our blood glucose concentrations. So it has a lot to do with things working in the gut and being transferred to those organs that very directly regulate how our body processes sugars, pulls fat and turns it into sugar, and then regulates blood glucose in our system.
Okay.
So have you seen, for folks that have like bile acid diarrhea, have you seen blood sugar issues?
Yes. I mean, they are definitely yo-yoing up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's like only one of the divots of what's happening with those people.
Totally.
Like, the chronic,
why they're having blood sugar issues.
or why they're having a bunch of emotional issues, blood sugar issues, fatigue. Like, I'm sure the blood sugars are involved, but it's only one facet of it.
Yeah, and they're probably deficient in all the fat-soluble vitamins.
Yeah,
and everything else, especially if there's dysbiosis affecting leaky gut.
Yeah.
I mean, all the things. So, basically, we know there are options in. I want to talk a little bit about testing and how we gather information on this, and that's going to come to like our specific strains that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Is the technology actually there?
Or validated?
Yeah.
I mean, this was all
Jumping the
pulled
gun
from,
here.
well, so what we don't know, like no one has gone into our patient populations and studied like if we affect this, do people lose weight?
Yeah.
But that's how a lot of our medicine is sort of we like build based off where the data is coming from, apply some common sense and figure out where we can help people. We definitely know that methane positive SIBO, so Methanobrevibacter smithii, the bug that causes that, it's an archaea, not a bacteria.
That's very clear.
That will slow transit, that will extract more nutrients, and that absolutely can lead to weight gain.
Not nutrients, calories. Extract more calories. Probably, maybe more nutrients too, but definitely extract more calories.
Yeah.
Which leads to weight gain. Because I don't think extracting nutrients would lead to weight gain. Extracting calories would lead to weight gain.
Well, calories make up our nutrients.
Well, maybe it does both.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of empty calories. The problem is when you have the empty calories.
Yeah. I mean, I think
nutrition.
it's just more than your body intended to take in. And, you know, if you slow the transit, you're leading to more leaky gut, more inflammation, all of that. Yeah, totally. So, okay, so these are some of the topics we'll cover, but probiotics and weight loss, there's actually a lot of data on this.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold back. I'm gonna look forward to learning about the data.
I'm gonna guess that our consensus on the efficacy of that is probably similar.
Okay.
As like a solo treatment, right? But
not very efficacious.
Right.
That's like where I land.
Pretty much everything as a solo treatment. It just blows my mind. The data on probiotics is brilliant. Like it looks great.
There's a ton of it.
It's you know, like very supportive of probiotics for various health conditions.
Right. And clinically
it's a what?
Well, I think it's like the vitamin D thing, right? Like we know people with higher levels of vitamin D generally are doing better and are healthier, but I don't know that the data on giving people supplemental vitamin D pans out. And it's like the same thing.
About deficiency.
Patients who have these certain species are healthier, but if you give that to someone else, what does it do? Right?
So anyway, just to like put it out there, this was a European Journal of Clinical Nutrition 2010, and the strains they specifically cited were Lactobacillus gasseri and Bifidolactis. Had shown potential in reducing body weight and fat mass, and I'll go through some of like the stats on that when we get into that section. Prebiotics support our good bacteria, so
that makes perfect sense to me. And prebiotics would be inulin, fiber, chicory, psyllium,
guar gum, acacia.
Guar gum? Guar gum.
Guar gum.
That's what she said. It was just a French pronunciation.
Oh, that's
how do you say it in Russian?
I hate that. I hate that inulin stuff.
I know.
That stuff
messes me up. I love inulin.
Oh, it messes me up.
My morning drink right now. God, I just invested yesterday.
I don't think it digests for me. I think it stays plastered.
I don't know what it does. All I know is I try to avoid it at all costs.
Yesterday, I purchased a milk frother.
I want one of those.
I think I did the research. I think I do.
Okay. You know what that's really good for? Compounded cromolyn.
We're talking about...
Because
you just took it delicious. Thank you for bringing us back on topic.
Sorry, But you know how the compounded cromolyn capsules, if you're trying to put it in liquid to get
it's hard to dissolve.
Milk frother.
Okay, wait.
Buzz it in because it lumps. It clumps. But in milk.
Shut up.
Okay, I want to know which one you got later.
Okay, but here's what I'm going to say. My matcha drink. Here's one of my Alana's recipes.
I'm ready.
A spoon,
take notes.
Yeah, probably a quarter teaspoon of matcha, a scoop of collagen peptides, and like a half a teaspoon of inulin for a little bit of sweetness.
Oh, disgusting.
Oh my God, it's so... Now I can't have my matcha without it.
I use liquid stevia. It tastes much better.
And
it doesn't make my stomach
I don't
explode.
like sweet in my matcha either. And if I don't start my day with sweet, I'm not searching for more sweet.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And I'm wondering if it's affecting my microbiome. A, because it's not sweet, and B, because it has inulin prebiotic.
But
right back on course. Did you see that? I brought us back.
Okay, I need to know the milk frother later.
Okay, I did some research.
Okay, great.
10 minutes on Amazon.
So there was a study in Gastroenterology, the journal in 2012.
That's probably a BS journal, right? We don't believe in that one.
Who does gastroenterology?
Who does gastroenterology?
Yeah. Real field. Saying early studies in FMT from lean donors may improve insulin sensitivity in obese individuals with metabolic syndrome.
And vice versa, right?
For sure.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, so don't go do FMTs on yourself. There are brilliant people out there who can help you with that.
And right now in the US, you really have only one option, which is the drug.
And you'd have to keep doing it over and over. It's not going to stay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true.
In terms of like weight management and metabolic syndrome, like I think there are too many risks and stuff associated with it, but I think it's super promising for all the reasons.
I also think we have one FMT drug already, and most likely we'll have more.
Yep.
And that's going to change the conversation.
Yeah.
Where are we going to get the donors from some
Amish?
I know, it's like some...
Yeah.
non-American
people living on farms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think people who come in contact with poop
Animals.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Animals, yeah.
Diversity.
And haven't taken 50 courses of
Yeah,
antibiotics.
or
Or maybe
sprayed
even
with
one.
Lysol their entire childhood.
Gross.
Ugh, so gross.
You were sprayed with Lysol?
Oh yeah, I don't even.
Were you?
I wasn't literally. My parents are wonderful. But I just remember when I was sick or something, it would just be Lysol.
Oh,
I do not
gross.
have that
I
memory.
associate the smell of Lysol.
No,
with
we didn't
No,
use Lysol.
I think maybe because we're immigrants.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We
I
probably
mean,
couldn't- yeah.
brilliant.
But I
Brilliant.
do have a memory. I don't know if you have this memory. I have a memory of we still have the thermometer that was a mercury thermometer.
Ooh.
Oh,
We
didn't
still
help
have that
you?
thermometer.
Yeah.
Do you have that memory?
I don't have the memory, but I feel like most people when we were kids had those still.
I definitely, I still
Okay.
have it at my
I
parents'
think I
house.
remember learning in school about those, that they were
My-
bad and you should ask your parents about them.
So my poor kids were at my parents' house, and my mom
Yeah.
thought she was sick, and she like shook
Oh,
up the
God.
mercury under my kid's armpit, and my kid's like, "Why isn't this done yet?" And I was like, "No, it just takes time. Like mercury
it's
thermometers are not
super
digital.
cool.
I'm scared of those things. If
You
it
should
breaks and you
You
get
should be.
exposure,
Ours
we've
is
got enough. I've got enough
I
problems
know,
already.
I know.
I don't
Okay,
need
keep-
another mercury hit.
Yeah. Okay. So
another mercury hit.
So this section is all about testing. We'll maybe go through that, and then maybe we'll do,
I agree.
reconvene for some of the treatment options, because that's really important. But like, how do we know what we're dealing with, and where can we get some information on, could this be part of the problem for our patients? Outside of the obvious, do they have dysbiosis for any reason? Like, that is worth treating for all the reasons. But what are we specifically looking at for metabolic syndrome? So in short, there's like a ton to learn. A lot of these are associations. They're not like direct.
They're correlations,
Yeah.
not causations. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so Firmicutes.
The species. Okay,
Right.
wait, let me back up. So the microbiome is made up of Bacteroides and Firmicutes. Those are the two giant
Those
classes.
are like the healthy families of bugs.
Yes.
And that's why we look at the ratio of those to kind of determine your overall like health of your good bugs.
Your microbiome.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you know about Firmicutes?
It is one of the ones that's like related to obesity, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it extracts nutrients or calories more efficiently.
Like the acromans, like the methane-producing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So that we have data on for that one. Some other ones I haven't heard of. Privitella.
Yeah, that's
corpri.
Privitella species is one of my biofilm producers.
For sure.
And
we know that one.
I think I link it to UTI infections. It's like very common UTI infection.
Privitella
UTIs.
is a problem.
Yeah.
We know that. Corpri specifically has been linked, it was a study in Cell in 2015, to insulin resistance and glucose intolerance.
Huh.
Like that one very directly. We're not even talking about
Which one is
necessarily
that?
weight management. It's a Privitella.
Oh, okay. Privitella.
Copri.
Okay.
COPRI.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, then let's get a little bit into Methanobrevibacter smithii, one of my all-time faves.
Because you know it so well, not because you want to have it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's constipation. We all know I love constipation, not for people, but to talk about.
Yes.
And to resolve.
Which is much more difficult in my experience than resolving diarrhea.
Yeah.
Constipation stinks. There's so
literally
many
stinks.
so many
so much
aspects
gas.
you have to address. And gas, yes. Fermented bowel products.
No.
Don't even. I don't.
Putrefaction.
I'm still drinking my coffee.
I had last week. I ate pizza for 3 meals in a row, and I was like,
nice.
There's a lot of fermenting. There's a lot of fermenting that happened there.
That's a good week for me.
It was a little bit longer than expected. So we're making a very large vat of vegetable soup today.
Oh, so
using your
broth
recipe.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So
actually,
this
this one you could have no problem with constipation if you eat this one.
Yeah.
Shiitake onion broth.
Yeah, I need to. It's like the freeze dried mushrooms. Yeah, I gotta get that recipe.
Yeah.
Actually, it's on sale right now at Costco. I'm just saying. And
we
right
get
now,
it at the
meaning
Asian store. I think it's even better.
I don't know.
Go to
Asian
Costco.
store?
Oh my god, it's the happiest place on earth.
Oh,
I get overwhelmed. There's
Me
no one
too.
to,
So
there's no one to
organic.
ask. There's no one to ask any questions. Like,
They're
I
so
always have
great.
questions.
it's too much like.
I'd have to go
decision
with you.
fatigue
I
for
had
me.
a
Yeah.
patient who was like, I was like, Costco, the happiest place on earth.
Yeah.
And she was
Oh my
like,
gosh.
it was so weird because I walked in there
Yeah.
and it felt like everybody was in Disney World. Everybody was happy. And I was like, I know. That's Costco.
It takes me like an hour to buy toothpaste.
Everything's
If I went
so
in there, no, in
large.
general.
No, that's true.
No, you got-
That's on
yeah, you-
purpose.
I'd have to go with you, and
You have to be
I'm the
trained.
most annoying person to go grocery shopping. with.
I bet we'd be pretty similar.
My husband will
the
not go with
couches in
me.
there?
Oh yeah, the couches.
Many times I've gone in and like called in back up and be like, I'm just gonna meet you at the couch. I can't. I'm zoning out. I can't keep doing this.
You got to know what you're doing.
I
You got to be
know,
a
I'd have to
professional.
come with you.
I'm not a professional.
I was born and raised with a Russian tribe.
Did you
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
Costco?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
that's Costco is the love language of all Russians.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a thing.
Indian people, not so much.
You know, because communism, you had nothing. You had to wait in lines. You had these huge
big,
stores
bulky.
with literally everything.
That
Oh
all
yeah,
makes sense.
it's completely a Soviet thing,
Oh,
a
yeah,
post-Soviet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
go on.
Okay, well, what we know about Methanobrevibacter smithii, to bring it back, and what condition is this found
God,
in?
we really zig and zag.
I know.
SIBO.
Yeah.
SIBO,
methane, intestinal methanogen overgrowth.
There we go. Yep. If we're going to be specific, but SIBO by a lot of standards, at least the way we call it. So this archaea, it's not a bacteria, it's older than that, is more prevalent in folks struggling with obesity than not.
Okay, so
whether or not they have bowel issues.
Bacteria, viruses, fungi, and archaea,
Yep.
those are the 4 classes of species, and we see archaea in obese people.
Yep. More often
in cultures
Yep.
that are that have a lot of caloric
Yeah.
availability.
So it's my understanding that this archaea I think it came out of Africa in cultures that were struggling with famine.
Yes.
And then it got plopped here other cultures where food generally for most folks is highly caloric.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just made everything way worse
And
from a metabolic standpoint.
I think that from what I know or remember, when they sequence microbiome of hunter-gatherer cultures, they're like 50% methanogens or archaea in there because it's very useful in that environment.
Yeah. It's more of a symbiotic relationship, whereas not here. Tends to cause constipation, a lot of other issues. So, do you ever see this cause weight reductions in people after treating it?
After treating SIBO?
Yeah, methane positive SIBO.
I mean, if you work on dysbiosis in general, we've had patients where it helps with their weight management, but we're doing so many other things like removing inflammatory foods, detoxification, all of those things together. So it's hard to isolate.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to bring that up because I don't know, even though the data sort of suggests this is sort of the crux of some of the issues with shunting data to like clinical application. I don't know that directly just like treating SIBO go live your life has caused weight reductions.
I have never seen that.
What I find that I'm sure we all do is after we fix people's gut and expand their diet, we can have more productive conversations about how to optimize all the things metabolic for people when they're not so hyper focused on I can't poop.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat or I only want to eat things that are like soothing to my gut kind of thing. Yeah. So, okay. Another weird one.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to throw out there, one of the first conferences I went to, this was in Berkeley in like 2003. There was a great presenter on sort of I don't remember is it diabesogens? So environmental chemicals and toxins are risk factors for blood sugar abnormalities and diabetes on their own.
We have cases of inducing PCOS, like the insulin resistance type, from just environmental exposure. Yeah,
so I think plastics. A big piece of it is getting people off of things that are going to expose them to plastics and chemicals and toxins. And that, I mean, you can only do so much, but I think if you don't do that part, it doesn't work so well.
I know.
And it's not really part of the conversation in treating diabetes, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a very fair point.
Maybe it is for some of us, but...
I mean, I think it is if you're going on at the naturopathic or functional medicine lens, but not through standard of care.
Right, but even for us, I feel like to get to... You have so many things you're trying to get through, and then I think sometimes I assume people are already doing these things, and I don't realize they're microwaving things in plastics, which in our world is like, whoa.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. And like takeout containers.
Right. You guys I bring my glass container to the...
I mean, I really...
It's kind of embarrassing with other people, but a lot of it's like, oh, great idea.
I know. I was like, I think of you every time I'm like taking home.
Do you bring your glass? Oh, okay.
No,
it's hard to remember.
I'm just like terrified of containers
I forget sometimes.
So
what does that mean for like your day-to-day life?
Well, what I try to do and what I kind of lean on with my patients, because this topic is so depressing to talk with patients about, and
do your best.
Tip into very shaming because like people with kids, like
it's so crazy.
You rely on convenience.
I know it's so crazy.
So hard.
It's so hard. So my thing is like going in with food. So what the most we can have as it came out of the earth, the better. If you can buy in bulk, if you can cook your own food, like lean on that as the bulk of things. And if you have to have dinner out or you have to fill in the gaps,
bring your glass containers.
Great
for takeout.
I mean,
everyone.
Okay, I used to take this to an extreme. I would have the glass container in my car.
Yeah,
I would run in to get it. I was too embarrassed to ask, and I think it's like a violation for them to take my container.
Yeah, for sure.
Certain restaurants they would do it. It was probably not legal.
Yeah.
But most of the time, then I would like run out of the takeout place with the containers in my car, which was parked as close as I could park. I would be transferring it. I'd spill curry all over the car.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
I mean,
but
it's
I mean, you
worth
guys
thinking about.
I've settled down. I have takeout in plastic sometimes.
In
I can't always
the
remember.
discussion of coffee, you know, a lot of coffee shops will give you discounts.
I
if
bring
you
this.
your
They'll
own.
put it in this
Yeah,
for me.
but
Is
you
that
know
a
what?
lining of coffee cups?
Yeah, they'll bring.
Also,
I know. I
if
got
we're
a lot of that the last few months.
Okay, if we're on a roll on breaking people's souls, which I think we are,
I know.
bubbly water
I
are all
know.
lined with plastic.
I know.
The glass ones?
No,
It's bisphenols.
Yeah.
It's
Well, the
bisphenols.
cans you mean?
The cans.
Yeah.
Some brands are better than others.
Spindrift
is good.
Yeah, Trader Joe's.
Does
I
it
think
say
is
on
good.
there?
No, but somebody did a study that published it.
Well,
I did
let me
not
guess
look.
that one of our friends called them and
I did not look at who funded that study though.
But,
Maybe
like,
Spindrift funded the study.
Beer, like anything, all of our
In a
canned
can.
foods.
We've always known. I mean, I consume them, but I know I'm like, this is probably not good for me to drink stuff out of this.
I know, and I really
And
love
we
IPAs.
think that affects the microbiome.
Can you get it in glass?
It definitely affects leaky gut.
It definitely upregulates the amount until we can guess
It's another
it's really
toxin,
Yeah.
right?
secondary
And
to
burden it on the
microbiome
liver.
change.
Sure. I mean, I don't know that anyone studied that directly. But
Okay,
it
can
makes
you
perfect
not
sense.
get IPA in glass bottles though?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah. But
She
if I'm over at someone's house, they have an IPA, and one of my favorite ones, I don't think comes
I
in
think
glass
it's okay
bottles.
sometimes, but and if you eat fiber, it helps get these things out,
Right.
because it helps the whole
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
But
reabsorption of
people will
toxins.
argue that they don't have BPA in cans anymore.
It has some other
It's
plastic.
PBS.
Other
Yeah.
bisphenols.
Yeah.
Like there are
PBS now.
tons of
It is
bisphenols
very
that they just
depressing.
haven't regulated
Yeah.
in this country yet.
Yeah, it's
So-
unfortunate.
I would like to go take a nap. I'm very depressed.
Oh,
Okay,
gosh.
wait,
And I
wait.
wear a night guard. It's plastic in my mouth all night.
One more. Oh shoot.
There's nothing else I can do. What are they
Same.
gonna do?
Me too.
Make it
I
out of
think-
silicone? I was gonna ask my dentist. They're gonna think I'm crazy. I was
They
gonna
already
ask
think
if
you're
the-
crazy. I mean,
that's-
there's no way they don't think you're crazy.
I was thinking of getting them.
There's no way they don't think you're crazy.
I was thinking of getting them a Christmas gift for putting up with me, but
Oh.
hey, I paid them well over the years. So I
Very
needed a lot of work.
You are
Very
a
true.
return.
I'm
You
a
are a
good
return
customer. I'm a
user.
very good customer.
Okay, wait. Before we close here, the last one that has been linked to more prevalence in obese individuals, C. diff.
Oh, that's a big
Huh.
biofilm guy.
Totally. And
too bad.
yeah, for sure messes up the entire microbiome. But that was in the
Yeah,
International
bummer.
Journal of
Is
Obesity
there
in
some
2013.
C. diff in all of us though? Like small
Yes,
quantities?
yes.
It's
yes,
just
it
in
is.
a larger
commensal.
quantity.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a commensal. It's unopportunistic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Everything is.
Like Canada.
Everything is. So
Well,
much.
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're an opportunist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of can see that. Yeah.
Sometimes,
Me too.
depending, with compassion and kindness.
I'm definitely a capitalist.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
true. You
gotta
are.
be. You gotta be. And
I'm
it's
also
killing
like
us.
deep down inside a socialist. It's a very big, interesting pull that
Maybe depends on the
The
topic.
conflict.
Yeah.
or who's in government.
Big time. Okay, well, there's like why we care, what bugs to look for, and then a little sort of preview on what we'll get to in terms
This
of
is a
treatments.
big topic.
It is a big topic.
This is a
and
haul.
I think we need to kind of set the
Should
foundation.
we recap?
Yeah.
Dr. Claudia, you want to do a
Yeah,
recap?
so we know that all of these, we know there's a component of environmental toxins and chemicals that affect the microbiome, which affects your metabolism.
Yep.
There's certain species that they find more or less in patients with obesity.
Yep.
We're not quite sure how to shift that balance on its own, but potentially if you can shift that, it can be helpful in the whole journey of getting more metabolically healthy.
Spoiler to part 2, I really think there's a lot of utility in prebiotics.
Okay, well,
And
don't
fiber,
spoil it.
though. And
You
fiber.
gotta tune in later.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a
Okay,
prebiotic.
thanks, guys. Thanks,
Oh,
Turd
well,
Nerds.
okay, there you go.
Yeah.
We
All
agree.
right.
Say bye.
Bye.
See you.
Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned. We release episodes every 2 weeks.
If you like this episode, please subscribe and don't forget to rate and review us to help spread the Turd Nerd word.